reminder to all of our listeners or watchers, whatever the case may be, it's always a great time to go to mypillow.com/chicks to get yourself all the discounts. Right now, there's a special that I understand you are taking advantage of.
I'm totally taking advantage of the 50% off mattress toppers because my daughter has been sleeping on a crappy twin bed on this, like the bed that we have. You know those like trundle beds? You know what I'm talking about? The trundle beds?
The day beds? Yeah.
She's been sleeping. Yeah, the day bed. She's been sleeping on one of those for the past 9 months, which also serves as a place where I put all my laundry. And it's just this crappy mattress. It's a hideous, horrible mattress. So I told her, I said, I'm going to get you a mattress topper in the new house on your new little like full-size bed. And I'm so excited for her to have a nice bed with a nice MyPillow mattress topper because they are the bomb, you guys. We had them on all the beds in the old house, and I'm going to have them on all the beds in the new house. So any place that there is not one, I'm going to buy one. They are the best, and now they're 50% off, which is great. Use code chicks.
Yeah, 50% off those, 40% off on the MyPillow Squeezy Kitten for Technology slippers and moccasins as well. So, and really anything, any product that you get from mypillow.com/chicks. You're going to get yourself a discount. So do it
all
today.
The discounts.
Welcome to another weekly deep dive Chicks on the Right podcast. Very excited because we're having as our guest today, Grant Stinchfield from Newsmax TV. You may know him from such things as hosting us typically once a week.
Totally.
On his show on Newsmax, which we're always super happy to do. So now the tables have turned and we're going to be peppering you with questions instead today.
Perfect. Well, I love it. You know, I love you guys. I love having your show. And we go way back all the way to NRA TV. And so I'm so happy to be with you today.
Yes. So delighted to have you. So we're going to come right out of the gate and talk vax mandates and all this vax madness. We have kind of strong feelings about that because Mock partially, not all the way, but partially just left a position in part because there were vax mandates at that particular position. And so, you know, I know there was some stuff in the news about you running around New York City. I remember seeing a video of you talking about how New York City has turned into a shithole. And it's just, if you could speak a little bit.
Yeah, that was pretty much it.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about vax mandates and how, you know, that's been something that has affected you over the past couple months.
So look, I live in Texas, and this is really a free state. It's an unbelievable place to live. Though I've been here for 20 years, I grew up in New York, and I was just saddened to see what has happened to that city. They've gone off the deep end with government control at every single level, whether you talk about guns to vaccine mandates. And I was frustrated because I couldn't go anywhere in New York City. I wasn't allowed into bars. I wasn't allowed into restaurants. The Plaza Hotel took back the Newsmax Christmas party from us. I wasn't allowed to go in because the Plaza Hotel said they wouldn't accept a negative test. They would only accept a vaccine card. That wasn't Newsmax's decision. That was the Plaza that literally stuck it to us. So
at the last minute?
Last minute. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Well, there was a lot of media coverage about it. And so I think they freaked out. And so this happened at the last minute. So I was frustrated, and then hence the video that ended up on page 6 New York Post, which was actually a great write-up. They thought they were slamming me, but I thought it was a great write-up because I am so against mandating anybody to put something in their bodies. I don't think the founding fathers would have ever envisioned this. And if they did envision it, when you look at what the Supreme Court has ruled over and over again, you know, everybody talks about Congress needing to rule on this, and Joe Biden's executive orders don't work, or an administrative order from OSHA shouldn't work. I agree on all that, but I'm not even sure Congress has the power. When I read the Supreme Court rulings on this, it's state legislatures that would need to rule on vaccine mandates. And then even beyond that, every time the Supreme Court has weighed in on this issue, there are exemptions available to people, whether it's religious, whether it's medical. And the most important is during the smallpox 1905, a case out of Massachusetts, you could pay a $5 fine, which amounts to $158 today, to basically opt out of getting this vaccine. There's none of that in place. People are losing their jobs over this, over this nonsense. And again, if I'm going on here, you just cut me off. But
no, it's great.
You're fine.
I have said over and over again, and I mean, I say this kind of funny, but it is true. If people would just listen to me from the very beginning, we would be so much better off as a nation. I told everybody these vaccines were rushed and they weren't going to work. They're not working. Okay. These vaccines are a flop. I'm sorry. It was an unbelievable feat. I applaud President Trump for pushing them out as fast as he managed to push them out. But these things are a flop. He was lied to. So they don't work. Yet they can't go back on them. So they're doubling down and now want you triple and quadruple boosted. So,
yeah. Well, part of that is because they don't want to say we were wrong. I mean, they're not going to do that, right? So they're not going to go back and correct themselves. Instead, they're going to double down. They're going to move the goalposts. This is what these people do. We're going into year 3 of this now. So, and we're all witnessing that. And people are taking it. People are still complying. We say this a lot on our podcast, on our daily podcast. We're like, listen, the reason that this is still happening, the reason that we're all still in this pandemic is because we're all complying. Everybody still is everybody's still taking this crap. I mean, that's what.
Yeah, even the people that don't want to are still
right.
complying. You know, and I think it's time. Do not comply has been a common mantra on our show. If it's unconstitutional and illegal, I don't think you have an obligation to comply.
Well, and it's interesting too, because you always hear from the White House when they talk about the mandates, well, they work is their line, right? They're always like so proud of the fact that it works to coerce people and force them to do things they don't want to do. And my whole take on that is, why would you say that with any amount of pride, whether you're a CEO or a president? Why would you be like, yay, look at me, I forced someone to comply, so that means it's working?
Well,
what?
I don't even think it's working. I mean, if you look at California, which has the most insane mandates going, you look at New York, insane mandates, they've got cases through the roof. You look at Florida and you look at Texas where there's no mandates. Now, I will acknowledge this. I don't think it has anything to do with the no mandates or the masks or the no masks. I think this virus just takes its course and it goes where it wants to go and it does what it wants to do.
Right. Because that's Mother Nature, right? Which we're not paying attention to Mother Nature. It's just it's a virus, and I feel like it's one of those things. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but then again, a lot of these people who are doctors, I kind of wonder if a lot of these people are even qualified to say the things that they say on a regular basis. But I mean, I look at it and I think, okay, it's a virus, just like there have been other viruses that we live with on a yearly basis. And if we continue to do what we're doing, we're all just going to go mad. It's insane. And now I feel like, kind of like what Barry Weiss was saying a couple days ago, it has become a pandemic of bureaucracy. Now it's a matter of, this is no longer about public health. It's about control. Obviously, it's about control. I mean, people with actual firing synapses in their brains know this is about control, right?
Can I give you a little warning here? So you bring up Barry Weiss, former New York Times reporter. She was on talking about how, well, COVID should be over. I feel like there Bill Maher, the crazy liberal, saying enough is enough with the mask. COVID is over. I don't trust these people. Conservatives are praising them for speaking the truth. You know what? On the face of it, they deserve praise because what they're saying is true.
Right.
I truly believe they are trying to lull us into a false sense of normalcy. They're going to lull us into this thing. The media is going to say, all right, everything's fine. And then out of the blue, some new strain is going to come back and they're going to hit us with, there is an ulterior motive for the media just to all of a sudden be changing its narrative on the China virus. It doesn't add up unless they are plotting and planning something. I don't trust anything that comes out of their mouths.
Yeah.
Well, my take on that, though, is that when people like them, when classic liberals like them say to their mostly liberal audience things that are finally true and that make common sense, to me, I'm like, okay, that's great, because people need to hear it from people that they admire politically. And if they're hearing finally the right messages, then maybe that will actually get some people thinking in the right way, even though I totally hear what you're saying, that these people got us into this mess to begin with, right?
Yeah, they absolutely did.
Yeah.
And it's to take away from that. It's to make us forget about who caused this problem. And that's the Democrats.
That's a really great point. Okay, so this leads me to another question that I have, because you're talking about not trusting the media. The media is a huge part of everything that's gone on. Well, God, since we've been Chicks on the Right, since we've been doing this for 13 years, right? The media sucks. Okay, and granted, I know, listen, I don't consider you as part of like the media, right?
Right.
But yeah, I know you started out as a journalist. That's what I think your undergrad degree was in comms, right? And then your master's degree was in journalism, if I'm correct
you
on
did your
that.
research. Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so I do that everyone. Right. I have a master's in communications, and I'm like, why did I do this? Yeah. So anyway, I see that and I go, okay, so what do you think? Since you were trained in journalism, you were trained back, because you're probably around the same age as us. I don't know. You look better and more well preserved
I'll be 53
than I am,
next month. I'll be 53
all
next
right,
month. I'm older than you guys, I think.
Just by one year.
50.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So you're about the same age. So we probably like the same music and stuff like that. And we understand that Reagan was awesome. So knowing that, you were probably trained in journalism at a time when people were still somewhat trained well in journalism, right? And you still kind of were on the cusp, maybe, before it all just went to hell.
No.
So I'd like, maybe?
No. They were all liberals there. So
really?
I'm trying to remember when I got my master's degree. Around 2002, something like that. So it was after 9/11. I got a fellowship to get my master's. So I didn't have to pay for that worthless degree from Quinnipiac University. You probably know them from the polling they did. So I was a working journalist. I went back. I figured, you know what? I could teach some college courses. I'll get it. What the heck? Well, no college would ever have me now. So that was
me too. That's how I feel too. Yeah.
But they were all liberals then too. I mean, I remember a professor that wanted me to do a story on homelessness, and I went out and I wrote a piece on how 90% of the homeless people, and this is from interviewing them, want to be homeless. They don't want to abide by the rules. They don't want to change their ways, and a series of crazy things had to happen at their own fault. From drugs to stealing from their family to all these things to spiral out of control to become homeless. That was not popular with her. That was not the piece that I was supposed to write for her journalism class. And that goes all the way back to 2003. So, this has been, we've been facing this for a long time.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what was your take then on Biden calling out Peter Ducey the way that he did?
Yeah.
Well, I think it shows two things. I think it shows that Joe Biden is not this nice down home folksy guy, hey pal guy. He's really an ass.
Angry.
He's an angry old man. Yeah.
He is.
And I think the other is it shows the fact that he's so unaware, a guy that's been in politics for so long that there's an open mic next to him after he's just been speaking into it is really frightening in and of itself as well. Mm-hmm. He should know better. I know there was a time where he probably did know better. And now he doesn't. This man.
Are you sure though? Because it's a big fucking deal, right? I mean, you remember that. I don't know if he's ever understood the concept.
If he's ever known.
Yeah. Well,
there's a hot mic, Joe.
I don't think anyone has ever accused him of being a smart guy, even going back way in the day.
Yeah.
Brian Stelter's freaking out. Acosta's freaking out. They're all acting like, oh my God, this is fine. And like, it was way worse than Trump did it. When Trump called Acosta son of a bitch, then it was like the world was exploding. Now they're like, calm down, everybody, because you're just missing the context. It's different context.
But I mean, like Acosta and then Peter Ducey. Acosta. I mean, come on.
Peter Ducey's like the nicest guy. I've never met him. But he seems like a nice guy. I mean, and it's
like Richie Cunningham. He's like
he's kind of dorky, but in like a really cool way. Like I'd be friends with him. It's crazy. I mean, Acosta's a jerk.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a total jerk, and so there's a big difference there.
Yeah, there is a distinct difference there. So state of the country right now. I think we all have. You have kids, right? I have
one 12-year-old son.
Okay, and I have an almost 12-year-old daughter, and I have two older kids as well. That my stepkids, and then Miriam has two sons, and so we see things obviously in the prism of parenting a lot of times. And so you look at the world and you think, what kind of a world are we leaving for our kids? Right.
Right.
I don't know. What kind of world do you think we're leaving for our kids, Grant?
We're in the world right now that was the reason why I didn't want to have a child with my ex-wife. Right. I waited till I was 40. We were married for 8 years before, maybe 6 years before we had a child. I didn't want to bring a kid into the world that we face right now with a lot of uncertainty, a lot of danger. Crime is out of control. You got enemies across the globe that would like nothing more than to march us out onto a beach, put us all on our knees and lop our heads off. Even though Joe Biden wants to pretend that Islamic extremism doesn't exist, it does. It's a bad, crazy place. You've got our own government acting in a tyrannical fashion, trying to control us, trying to put things in our body that if we don't want, we shouldn't have to. This is the exact world I didn't want to bring a child into. Now, with that said, I'm so glad I have my son. He's a great young young man, and he gets it. But it's a sad reality right now. I do believe we get it back, but it's going to take work. You know, it's so interesting because you can destroy a nation in a year, right? You can do horrible things in just a few weeks. To build back takes a lot longer. It always is much quicker to destroy something than it is to build something. Just look at tearing down a house compared to building one, right?
Yeah.
This is what we're watching. We got a lot of work ahead of us in just this short year what Joe Biden has done to this country.
So you were saying earlier that Grant's skincare regimen is obviously very, very good because we were assuming that he was not quite as old as we are, and it turns out he's a year older. My guess, frankly, is that he is using Genucel on the sly.
He's repairing with the night repair cream. He's doing all the repair at night is what he's doing. And
you think that's what's going on?
I think he's repairing, and then he must be using the serum too, and then the jaw stuff. That's what he's doing. Because I mean, he looks good for 53.
He looks good. He looks good.
Yeah.
And all of that you just listed, all of that comes in Genucel's most popular package, which right now is over 60% off, and it includes that revitalizing night repair cream free when you check out. Plus, you get all the free shipping whenever you order Genucel. This is the stuff that we use, that we love, that we've been using way before that they were even a sponsor. And so definitely recommend that you give it a try. We're getting all kinds of emails from people loving the results, and you'll love the results too. Promise.
Yes. I love
Genucel.com, GENUCEL.com.
/chicks. Do it. You're gonna look fabulous. You're gonna look fabulous like us and Grant. Mostly like Grant. Yeah.
Do you see him running? Like, do you think that he's gonna run again for real? I mean, I know he's saying that he will, but do you think that he will, or do you think the Democrat Party is gonna be like, you know what? We're just gonna have you step aside?
This is my monologue I'm working on for tonight. And it's about the media now seemingly turning on Joe Biden, which is interesting, right? Because they protected him for so long. The problem is Joe Biden has gotten so feckless. He's such an imbecile that the media knows they can't prop him up anymore because people will look at them like they're idiots. Everybody knows that Joe Biden is an imbecile now. So then they look at the prospects of 2024. They've got a huge problem, though, because as they turn on Joe Biden, and you watch, I think some of this stuff with China and Red Handed, this book by Peter Schweitzer, I think some of this may play because the Democrats may use it against Joe Biden to push him out. The problem is they have a huge issue with Kamala Harris. You've got the worst president in history, and I mean that. He's the worst president in the history of the United States. That picked the worst vice president in the history of the United States.
So very bad.
So what do? Hillary Clinton? Is that going to be their answer in 2024?
I think it's going to be Pete. Don't you think they're trying to prop up Pete?
Well, so here's the problem.
It's even more terrible. Yeah.
If Joe puts up a fight, Pete's not going to be able to run against him because he's part of his administration. He's not going to be able to turn on him. You're going to get a lot of these other guys like Cory Booker that the far left radicals aren't going to be able to run against Joe Biden because he's tried to embrace the far left. You're going to have to find somebody in the middle. This is why this lane for Hillary Clinton is wide open. Dick Morris on our show actually thinks Bill Clinton probably thought up of this plan because Hillary's not smart enough to do it.
Oh my God.
But Bill probably thought of this plan to run in the middle. She's going to be the anti-extreme left candidate.
God, what a nightmare, though. No. Like, to think that she would actually do that a third time. I mean, it
worked for Joe.
Yeah, right. It worked for Joe.
It worked for Joe. I mean, he ran 3 times and he finally was the charm, right?
I swear though, y'all, she will. I am convinced though that we will destroy her if she runs. If you get somebody like DeSantis or even anybody, we have so many great candidates. We really do have a lot of great people on the bench, and if we run any of those people who are just a smidge qualified, we will destroy. It will be a bloodbath. Yeah.
I see only really two viable candidates right now, and that's President Trump and Ron DeSantis. And I don't think Ron DeSantis runs if President Trump does. And I really do believe, I got to spend a little time with him over the holidays. I mean, just when I say a little time, like a few minutes on a couple different occasions in a 2 or 3 day span. But he gives me the feeling that he really is going to run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you think that all of the stuff is going to get in the way, like all of the lawsuits and all of the Georgia investigations and New York investigations? You don't think
never
that's
going to stop? Nope.
I mean,
never
they
going to
definitely
stop.
won't.
And I think he comes out of this because I don't think there's a lot there that I don't think he did anything wrong. And ultimately, the truth will come out as they get through this. These are weaponized investigations designed to damage him. They're designed to hurt him. I'm not sure they're really designed to convict him of anything because the stuff just never is there for him.
Yeah.
So,
otherwise, it would have already been there, right?
Yes.
And then there's a bank of VP candidates. I mean, just a literal bank. You've got so many people. You've got Pompeo. You've got Noam. I mean, there's just so many people that you can choose from that are quality people on our side, and on their side, there's just crickets.
Yeah, they don't have a bench at all. I mean, their bench is really horrible. I mean, you mentioned Pete Buttigieg. I mean, really, he's a guy from a small town in Indiana that he was mayor of, and
he was awful.
Yeah.
He was
awful, and he
terrible.
botches the supply chain crisis. He's supposed to be transportation secretary. I mean, he's not going to be able to run.
No, these people do not know what they're doing. No, it'd be terrible.
Yesterday you talked a lot about the whole stock trading stuff with Congress. So I cannot believe, because it was news to me until I saw it from you, that only 2 Republicans have signed on to this potential bill saying, hey, we got to put a stop to insider stock trading, essentially. So, how is that possible that there are only 2 Republicans?
So Nancy Pelosi makes $35 million on big tech stock trades.
Oh, my God.
Anti-big stock legislation is moving through committee. She kills the bills. Well, those bills would have squashed big tech. It would have destroyed her holdings. Instead, she squashes the bills and she makes $35 million. So I've got a very special mission tonight. I'm not going to give it away here, but tonight I've got a very special mission that all of your viewers can help me with when it comes to Nancy Pelosi. I'll tease that. And I'm gonna release that tonight on the program.
Awesome. Awesome
plan that we have. And I'm going to have the other congressman. So Matt Gaetz of Florida is one of the Republicans who signed on to this letter to Nancy Pelosi and Kevin McCarthy saying, hey, there are bills that says put stocks in a blind trust for you and your family and no more trading, not insider trading, no more trading at all if you're a member of Congress. Bring it to a floor for a vote. 27 members of Congress out of 435, only 2 Republicans. Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania is the other one. He's going to be on the show tonight. But when you have Matt Gaetz signing legislation with AOC and Rashida Tlaib, you think people would take notice, but they want this stuff buried.
Gosh, that is infuriating. And it so really goes to the point that, like, Republicans and Democrats now, there's very few differences in a lot of places, like states like mine, Indiana. Our governor is literally running the state as a Democrat. And I'm always floored by it. I'm always just like, how does any Republican governor not just look at a DeSantis or a Kristi Noem or whoever that's doing it right and just do those things? Like, how do they not know that that's what their constituents want? I am always blown away by that.
They get in the hot tub. They get in like this hot tub, and they get all comfortable, and they think I'm untouchable now. This is what they do.
Well, there's 2 problems we face, and they both kind of go together. One, we have what I call a uni party right now. That they're all the same. Right.
Right.
And they're working towards the same goal. The same goal is self-interest over national interest.
Yes.
Which gets us into this stock trading. We face, whether it's in Congress or whether it's in your state house, a ruling class of elite career politicians. They are a ruling class. This is not the representative democracy that we envisioned. I firmly believe the founding fathers never envisioned jet airplanes shuttling people back and forth to Washington for 20 years. When you had to ride a horse from Maine to DC, you weren't going to do that for 20 years. Well, now 20 years, heck, that's probably the median number of years people are serving in Congress. So you've got this elite ruling class. They're toasting scotches in the basement at the members bar. I promise you, laughing at all of us. Pelosi, McCarthy, they're probably, doing that little toaster with their arms and the jokes on all of us.
God, it's so infuriating. Okay, so I know you got a busy day, so we don't want to keep you too long. But I just wanted to ask you. So on that note, would you run for office? Do you have any plans to run for office?
So, I ran for Congress
Mhm.
about 10 years ago, I guess it was. I lost in a primary against a guy who was just a fat cat Republican, the exact kind of person that we think about. He doubled his net worth, by the way, from 2008 to 2011, the worst
Shocker.
recession we have seen.
God.
So, I think right now, if you talk about the ability to push change and have the ear of people that can make change, I am so blessed by my position on Newsmax and to be a voice
Mhm.
for so many people that I think I have more strength to push the country in the right direction doing that than I would as a member of Congress as 435 people. So I have no plans for running office, at least anytime soon.
Well, so
Okay.
do you think, okay, just one more. I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
I want just one more because that made me think of one more thing. Do you think that now is the time, because you said, it's a uniparty essentially. Do you
Right.
think 2024 could be or should be the year that we have a viable third party,
There's
a
no
little
such
better
thing.
than Ross Perot?
There'll
Really?
never be any such thing. It's just the system isn't
I'm with
set up
you.
for it. It'll never
totally with
happen.
you.
But what
Yeah.
I would support, okay, is a rebrand of the Republican Party, where you
Yep.
say, you know what, Republican Party, we're no longer the Republican Party, we're the Freedom Party, okay?
Mhm.
And when President Trump wins again, or Ron DeSantis, you go in and you revamp and you push all of those rhinos out. If he made one
Right.
mistake, President Trump, he surrounded himself with too many people ingrained in the swamp. He didn't know quite what he was up against. He said drain the swamp, but he had no idea how strong and evil these creatures are that lurk in the swamp. And how many leaks did we see coming out of the White House? You notice
Oh
we
my
don't see
God.
any leaks now. There's no leaks. So we're up against the deep state. We're up, and it's within the Republican Party as well. So I think you rebrand the Republican Party to a Freedom Party. You can't start a third party. It'll never work. It'll split people off. Some will stay, some won't, and we'll end up handing the Democrats election after election.
I worry
Right. And
about
people-
that. I genuinely worry
Yeah.
that is exactly what's going to happen with somebody like a freaking Andrew Yang, or I don't even know who.
Do you remember
what's his
what
name? Who's that rich guy? Cuban. Somebody like
Mark
that.
Cuban?
All right, Mark
Yeah.
Cuban.
Yeah.
Mark Cuban.
So,
Mhm. Yeah.
do you remember what I said at the beginning? If people would just listen to me, we'd be better off. Do not start a third party. I promise you I'm right on this.
Yeah.
I don't doubt you, but I don't know if people will listen is the problem.
And
Yeah.
people talk about libertarians, but I always say that libertarians, what they stand for. I'm like, that's cool. That's
Yeah.
cool what you say, but they don't win. Yeah, they
No,
just don't win.
I will say this about libertarians too. Their good ideas are really, really good, and their bad ideas are really bad.
Yeah.
Right.
So-
Yeah.
That's a good place to leave it. Grant Stinchfield,
It is.
Newsmax TV. You're
Yeah.
always so fun
Such
to
a
talk
joy.
to.
You know I love
Such
you,
a
ladies.
joy. Such a joy.
We'll see you later this
Thank
week.
you.
All right, sounds
We
good. Bye,
will.
y'all.
Bye.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Well, that
Right.
interview with Grant Stinchfield was completely awesome. My sense
It was.
is that he's a prepper. Do you get that
Yeah,
sense?
I think he's a prepper. Because he was like 2 seconds away from saying, "You in danger, girl." That's what he was going to say. I mean, you can just tell. There was a moment. Don't you think there was a moment there where he was like, I want to be positive, but I can't. So you might want to buy some food from My Patriot Supply, because damn, yeah, it's bad.
That is my
Right.
sense as well, is
I
that
got
that's
that sense.
exactly what kind of person he is.
Mhm.
And I guarantee
Yeah.
you that he has one of those safe rooms too.
Oh,
and it's probably stocked
buckets.
floor to
Filled.
ceiling with emergency
Buckets.
food kits.
Totally, buckets. I mean, so far I've got 2 buckets of My Patriot Supply food. It's like I aspire to be like Grant. # be like Grant. I want to have like 100 buckets in there. Okay. I want to be bucketed out is what I
I
wanna
mean, you
be in that
can't be
little room.
too ready. You can't.
No.
You can't be too
You
ready.
can't.
And
all
right now, it's $50 off of each 4-week emergency food kit, which is 2 buckets. So it's
Yep.
$50 off. This is a really good time to stock up, especially because God knows what's going on in the grocery stores right now with the
Right.
supply chain.
Mhm.
You might as well have emergency food on hand. Lasts for 25 years in storage.
25
No reason to worry
years.
about. I mean, it just does not go bad.
I can't believe that's amazing. 25 years. All you got to do is go to prepareWithTheChicks.com. Do it. Why aren't you doing it? Do it, right?
Preparewiththechicks.com.
Do it right now, you guys. Do it right now.